factors. These are the most employing factors that lead to the present pervasive insecurity we are seeing, that leads to ravage almost all the northern side of Nigeria, northwestern side of Nigeria. First of all, we have what we call the intrusionisms of politicians that came after 1999 handing over of their well-versed interest of acquiring arable land, where they will have what we call farmland, large farmland, where they will use to rear animals and so forth. There is that factor. Another factor is lack of government presence. If I may recall, in the former administration of Yari, Yari in Zamfara State, that's the former SSG of the state, in court, said there is more than 350 communities, larger communities in the state, but more than 250 of that community have no any presence of security personnel. That means they are exposed to danger, and they are exposed to attack at any time. And he said this in front of IGP Adamu, the present AIG. So there is lack of government presence. There is also unemployment factor. All these ones, if you break it, then there is what we call negligence, government negligence to take action since when the thing started. You understand? If we trace back the history of this insecurity of the so-called Northwestern Nigeria, it started in Zamfara State, in a place called Dangulbi, in the Dansado Emirate, like in the Maru local government of Zamfara State, where one person is an influential figure of planning called Alaji Ishi, where he was being killed by so-called vigilante. Nsakai, the one they call Nsakai in Hausa. That's when the security started. Then it became reprisal attack. This one up to the times when they have come and attacked people in mass in El Galadima, whereby more than 300 people killed. This is the issue, and government need to take certain measures, precautions. Even now, when they said if we can see them renowned is what we call created a program. It's now in a program that called Peace and Reconciliation Program. But the problem is that sustainability of the program. That's where the problem is. That's where the problem lies, because you can't manage terrorists, be giving him money, be giving him whatever need, because all the government coppers, all the treasury, and handle it to him, he will not be contented. Even though they said in an interview with the O.M. Bello, Brigadier General of one div in Gusau, and as well and the police commissioner, recently just before yesterday, and Usman Nagogo, they said they are using carrot and stick approach. Military in the other hand, and the peace reconciliation in the other hand. So even that issue. So, and if you can see, Masari in the Katsina state, he had done that before. In his first tenure, he did what we call peace and reconciliation programs, whereby he had even invited so many influential people in the world, even World Health, even what is called United Nations, sent representatives, whereby he have vandalized so many weapons collected from such bandits. But what is happening now? Now Katsina is one of the most states that affected with the insecurity. Their answer are even more better than that of Zamfara, isn't it, for now? Because even day before yesterday, one town called Meirua, this bandit attacked that town. So government needs to take sharp measures, need to take so many distinct issues, because even, and the one problem we are facing is that government alone, as journalists, we know government alone can never solve this problem. We need to all contribute our quota. We need to free our mind from what we call phobia and also fear of this bandit. Tell any secret, any hiding story, news about them. Set it out. Help the security agency, because helping them with the report, they will act, or if they act on it, a meaningful result will be out. Hello, are we all together? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear. We've spoken well. And some of the things, yes, we are together. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. But the issue of what I said, the factors, the influencing factor of this insecurity issue in the state I have. As you can see, we are having a problem of power outage. Where
I understand.
So, and the intrusion of a politician to acquire land, it contributed a lot, because all these herdsmen, we can see some of them that are now armed bandits. That's where they were resided before. That's where they were born. That's where their parents and parents born.
It's a case of
government and
they
overnight
are being displaced.
They are being displaced. Overnight issue. Government will come and said and allocated such land to so personality. There is a similar case which is now happening in Kaduna, which I know. I even visited the place. It's called Dajin Gomna. It is in Makarpi local government, if I am not forgetting, isn't it? If I'm not mistaken. I visited the place. I have saw the planning means where they are. There are more than 50,000 planners in hamlets here and there, but now they call us as journalists to express their grievances, and we interview them. They said government have dashed out such land to a company where they will plant either maize or what, isn't it? But government insisted on displacing such planners, and out of such planners, they show us those that are repentant bandits. Out of those that planners, they show us, they say these ones are bandits, but now they repent. Hello.
Okay, Chakwa, maybe we should take a Chakwa. Let's take a pause there and come to Al-Amin Ciroma, because we are still trying to establish the conversation on the rising insecurity. First, establishing from all you know as a very reportable journalist, what do you think is the cause for all of this, Al-Amin?
Well, thank you for having me. Whenever you talk about the rising insurgency or insecurity in Northwest, it goes a long way to say the insecurity started long ago by the Boko Haram crisis. The Boko Haram crisis started about more than a decade ago, and mostly it started as a fanatic group or a pressure group in which the government approach made it to go as an ideology. Now the group has grown up from being a fanatic group to an ideology. My colleague has rightly put it down that sometimes the approach of the security agents matters. You don't fight an ideology with a gun. When it started as a pressure or fanatic group, it should have been apprehended in a more dynamic way. But as it is now, there are so many factors that made the insecurity become a kind of ideology in the north. Along the line, there was the Middle Belt. To start with, the Middle Belt region in Nigeria has faced some prolonged violent clashes between the predominantly Christian farmers and the mostly Muslim cattle herders. This crisis has also fueled the crisis, the insurgency in Northwestern Nigeria. The clashes are not necessarily new, but since 2015, the crises become more frequent. In 2018 alone, statistics show more than 2005 casualties were recorded. In recent killings, the farmers-herders clash has also contributed immensely in the rising insecurity in northwestern Nigeria. We could see the impact of what is going on now in Zamfara State, Katsina State, part of Kaduna State, and just now in Sokoto State. So, what can be done to ensure the insecurity issues have been brought to book? There are so many factors. The Northern Governors Forum always come together to say they want to curtail the insecurity issues. We see the approach of the Zamfara State Governor, the Katsina State Governor, and Kaduna State Governor. All of them have a line, a kind of chain to see how they can at least see to the end of the crisis. But basically, the conflict now claims more than 2,000 lives, almost like the Boko Haram that claims more than six times what is happening in the clashes between the Fulani and the communities. So if we are to establish the conversation, we'll now say it is always high time for all the security agents, the politicians to come together and find lasting solution on how to settle the disputes. In Zamfara, there are more than 1,000 Fulani headsmen who always come together to say they have grievances with the authorities. Yes, they may seem to come for peace, but sometimes they will put everything on the table that the security agents are not helping matters. So now what the security agents are supposed to do is to fight all these insurgencies, not with a gun. For example, there are so many approaches. So we can now say the president himself must find inclusive and creative ways of addressing the escalating conflicts in Northwest.
Okay. Yeah, I understand all you've just said, and I must say that it's very much interesting. Yeah. So, but one thing I want us to look at again, because in January 2019, I had the opportunity to drive all the way from Lagos to I passed through Oyo State, Zamfara, Jigawa, no, Zamfara, then Katsina, Jigawa, Kano, Kaduna, to Abuja, Niger, and I on the depth of the crisis until we survived an attack in Sokoto, narrowly escaped the attack in Sokoto. Then we got to Zamfara. So it was to the rescue of the locals, the local community where we stopped, that they told us, oh, this is what is going on. Until you get to Jibia, Jibia in Katsina State, that until you get to Jibia, do not make any stop. And surprisingly to me, we met the members of the local command. I'm still trying to remember. I know some of my colleagues who are watching now will remind me the name of the community. Then I saw that, okay, this is a peaceful community that has a very peaceful life. But then, it is very common and normal for us to feel threatened when we see foreign individuals encroaching on our land. So now that we established that it's majorly a case of encroachment, or entitlement, or overtaking of land and properties, do we generally think that this is a political movement against the people? When I'm talking about political movement, not about political party, but politicians wanting to take advantage. Because some of the things that some people who have not been to Northern Nigeria usually would think is that it is about religion, ethnicity. That is one of the common thoughts outside Northern Nigeria. So, but should we, and those who have been there, who lives in Northern Nigeria, come to the general consensus that this is a political movement against the indigenes who are suffering this repeated attack and the insecurity, or it's a case of we have foreign mercenaries and influence in place? Let's go with you, Ciroma, from that. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Ciroma. Okay. Yeah. Did you get my question?
Hello. Hello.
Yeah. Did you get my question?
Yeah, halfway. Sorry, my network is fluctuating.
Oh, okay. So I was saying that based on the things you've established now, because one of the common perception outside Northern Nigeria, especially for those who have not been to Northern Nigeria, is usually thinking that what is happening has religious and ethnic background. So, but from what I've heard you talked about, you and Chakwa, is majorly about the political undertone. That is the political class undermining the masses. So, should we go with that narrative that it is a political undertone, or should we think about the foreign mercenary? Why I'm saying foreign mercenary is that driving through that breadth of, particularly from Sokoto to Katsina State, I saw how very close the border is, you know, with Niger particularly. And so you cannot really differentiate. So, well, what do you think? Should we go with the narrative of the political class undermining the masses, or it has some foreign mercenary undertone?
So yes, you see, Nigeria is synonymous with deep divisions, which cause major political issues to be vigorously and violently contested along the lines of intricate ethnic, religious, and regional divisions. You see, we are possibly somebody might come up with the same idea to say the political class may be seen as a mastermind of some certain, to an extent, the crisis in northwestern Nigeria. Considering the fact that the borders are interwoven from Katsina, you have is a border to Niger Republic. If you go through Sokoto, northeast in Borno State, Adamawa State, all of them are surrounded with borders from the neighboring countries. We look at the machineries put together at our borders. We find that the borders are so porous. As a result, states with such neighboring, closeness with some neighboring countries are said to be seen as so porous and that always give chance for the foreign encroachment into the land and causing all the mishaps. But what we are saying, we look at the political class and the ruling, the opposition. The opposition, we find that some opposition always look at any possible way to encourage insecurity, to make the system ungovernable for their opposition. So this is also a factor. Yeah, the incumbents. This is also a factor to go by. But as far as the system is concerned, there are some peace resolutions always preached by the government in place, that if at all these people are faceless, first of all, you need to identify who these people are. When the Boko Haram came in 2019, they started preaching Islam. But as a Muslim, we know the sanctity of Islam. I'm a Muslim. I see no reason whatsoever to fight a Christian to that extent. Our brothers in the other parts of the country see all these crises as a religious crisis. When it started in 2019, yes, we've seen what the insurgency was turning to when the insurgents were attacking Christians, burning churches. But before you know it, when it turned we witnessed a situation whereby they also attack Muslims. They burn mosques. They kill whoever they see. So all these factors now clearly show that these insurgents are faceless. And when you take into consideration the farmers' leaders clashes, you find that it's a long-term crisis which is supposed to be curtailed. Just like I said earlier, in 2019, the crisis claimed more than 3,000 lives across the northwestern states. So this is a huge number of casualties, and if you take into consideration also, the security agent recorded more than 750 casualties. So this is a clear war. This is something to say the system needs to adopt lasting solution. In Kaduna State on Monday night, there are so many killings, but also the media is not helping matters. The media needs to get the statistic accurately before addressing some other issues. So all these are impediments into the crisis, and we see some good meaning Nigerians who always campaign for peace. And it is not only the government. We look at the society, the northern youths mostly are jobless, and when it comes to politics, that is why political holders are supposed to play the role. We should play a role of actually coming together to save the situation.
Okay. All right. Al-Amin. Yeah. Well said there. Now, just in the 2 minutes, if you can put this together in 2 minutes, Chakwa, let's talk about how you see it. Do you think, as we've said before, that outside the northern Nigeria, some individuals see it as ethnic, religious crisis, but then from this submission, it's more about the political or class undermining the masses. So, do you see also the influence of foreign mercenary fueling the crisis in northern Nigeria come northwest Nigeria?
Yes, and you can't say a single factor. Nobody can pinpoint a single factor that influence this insecurity in the northern Nigeria. I can concord with my colleague, Al-Amin Ciroma, with all what he has said, that the factors need to be categorized into two or three. That is what we call influential factors. Is the one I said, displacing such people. From displacing them, they becomes and let me say stabilized. They become stabilized. They don't have nothing to do. From there, then cattle wrestling started. From cattle wrestling, then after they have almost end of all the cattle in the farmlands, in what we call farmlands of some influential politician, then they went back to the massive cattle. From the massive cattle, now banditry, kidnapping, and attacking. You understand? These are the most influential factors. Then we have what we call contributory factors. Contributory factors are those factors that we can set and lack of a presence of security all over the communities, lack of government negligence to take action, as Al-Amin Ciroma have said. He said, if you know the history of this banditry and insecurity activities they started this stealing with what we call with merchant and stick. Where the foreign influence came from is as a result of where the Libya destabilized after the killing of Gaddafi and co. Then they have access to such rifles, AK-47 and whatever, because Niger have direct access to Libya, while Nigeria has direct access to what we call Niger. I have an opportunity whereby I have seated down in the midst of these bandits, whereby I interviewed them, even though the interviews, it was not been allowed to be out by some, as a result of security purposes. We went there together with government officials. By then in Kaduna, former military officer and former security advisor to President Governor Rufai, that's Colonel Yakubu Yusuf Soja, was the security advisor of the Kaduna state. And the Katsina state, something Kopa Sauri, Yakubu something Kopa Sauri, by then is the security advisor. But then all these governments, they make an effort whereby they collaborate with some repentant bandits, where they attack the recalcitrant bandit. And that method really works by then. They recovered a lot of cattle and likewise a sanity, I may say, or a peace. We have a relative peace by then. So the problems, as I said, the sustainability of the program is what caused. So all these factors, if among all these planning you can see, we can exclude what we can say and a religious crisis contributed in the northern western Nigeria, because almost 99% of the northwestern Nigeria, isn't it, belong to one doctrine, to a single doctrine. So it's only in the middle belt, as Al-Amin Ciroma have said, that's where you can find that, because the predominant farmers of that size are Christian, while the Muslims are getting realized. That's where the clashes come in. You understand? But in the western part, in the northwestern part, you can't find such issue. You understand? Because in the mix of this, you know, this planning, before they attack, I asked them, they used to distribute, they used to invite what is called their colleague, even outside the country, from Burkina Faso, Niger, and Co. You understand? We discussed with them. When I asked them, one Alaji, something, I forgot his name, but I interviewed him. He told me even the way they used to possess AK-47 rifles. You understand? It's through this, they penetrate through Niger to Libya. And I asked him, we have security in the borders, we have police, we have mobile, we have soldiers, we have immigration, we have customs. How do you all pass away while these security agencies have been mounted there, here and there? They told me they used to carry these arms, their animals, their camels, and to follow forests up to where they need it. Then they will collect it. You understand? You know, Nigeria is a wild country. It can't be what is called secure at all. That's the factor. That's the reality. And the security agency needs to what? Needs to stand firm to work with and what we call intelligence information they acquired. Even though, yes, the northwestern governors are trying their best. They are trying their best to see, because security issue is something that consumes money. And you know, now, even though they need to tighten their belts, because nothing can be done without
Chakwa,
security.
Okay, Chakwa, sorry to disturb you there.
Yes.
Probably you didn't notice we experienced some little disconnection. And, some of the things you talked about, I can assure you that most people didn't get to hear that. So I want us to go back to where, after you mentioned the external factors, you know, talking about the factors that influence insecurity, and you were talking on the contributory factors before we suffered that disconnection. So can you just pick up from the contributory factors again, please?
Hello.
Yeah, go on.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you, Chakwa.
Yeah, shall I proceed?
Yeah, proceed. Continue from where the contributory factors.
Apart from that influential factor, we have what we call contributory factor. That's what I say, lack of government presence in the communities, in the remote villages. The securities are too rare. The security are very few, are too small. Government. Apart from that, we have what we call direct access. Niger have direct access to Libya, then Nigeria has direct access, direct border to what we call Niger itself. These people, they started stealing, they started cattle stealing and stealing with what we call machete and stick by then, before the stabilization of Libya. When Libya destabilized, it's now that's where they get access to obtain all these AK-47 rifles and co you have seen. I interviewed and I said I have opportunity to sit to search in the mix of these bandits when we went for reconciliation together with the security advisor of the Kaduna state by then. That's former security advisor to Governor Nasir El-Rufai. That's and a former military officer. That's Colonel Yakubu Yusuf Soldier retired. Then and security advisor of Katsina State, something Corpus Saudi. We went there and interviewed them, and they told me where they source the way they acquire all these sophisticated weapons. They said they acquired this sophisticated weapon via Libya, through Nigeria. I say we have security, we have more police, and military, and immigration, custom. How do they beat the intelligence of all these security agencies and enter into Nigeria with these sophisticated arms? The first answer, the first response the man tell me is that, do you need? I say, no, I'm a journalist, I'm just asking you to have the knowledge. He told me that they do acquire all these sophisticated weapons through Libya, Libya. And the animals carry all these weapons to them, for them, up to where they need it. They do penetrated through forest. And I told them, previously they said they have connection with what we call Boko Haram, when and these Boko Haram, they do supply food items and let me say kettles to these Boko Harams, while in an exchange that's trade by barter, Boko Haram do give them weapons. That's why, if you can recall, Chief of Army Staff Bratai by then have cut off all plannings and co and traveling to northeast, whereby it's cut off supply, even supplying of food items to that site. It's as a result of all this intelligent information that lead to that. So then another contributory factor is government negligence, lack of taking a tedious action, or I may say that is taking action on the right time. Like Al-Amin Ciroma had said, when this issue started, government can simply overpower these people. They can be arrested because they are very few. They can be arrested, come into the dialogue, because power of gun alone cannot solve this issue. Carrot and stick approach need to be taken. And I say an issue of, by saying that a religious problem, religious ethnicity is another factor in the Northwestern Nigeria. That cannot be a factor in the Northwestern Nigeria, because 99.99, almost 0.9 of the people residing there belong to one doctrine, to a single doctrine. It's only in the Middle Belt where such cases can be found, because the inhabitants, the farmers of that area, inhabitants, belong to a single doctrine, majority of them, while the herders are also belong to another doctrine. That's where the religious clashes entered. The religious crisis came from. But in the northwestern side, you can find that even though this planning, all these attacks you see they're doing it based on invitation. The Fulanis residing within any attack you see, the Fulanis that are residing within that state alone cannot carry out such attack. They do that based on invitation. That's how they told us when we interviewed them. They even invited their colleagues, their tribesmen, kinsmen outside the country. Some are even coming from Burkina Faso. That's what they said. So government needs to take serious action on this issue and work with the intelligence information before this issue can be solved.
All right, Chakwa. Wow. In fact, this is you've just taken this from a very interesting angle. But then again, I want us to come down to we've been touching on some of the things that can be done, you know, and Al-Amin Ciroma started that conversation on some of the things that can be done. And you also mentioned two things about ideology, that what is going on cannot be stopped by the influence of weapon, you know, using gun and all of the rest. And I'm also an advocate. I'm someone that believes that you cannot use hate to fight it. You know, sometimes you must bring in love, you know, and have this dialogue and conversation. But one of the things again is that we've seen over time that dialogue might not really be the solution to this, because in situations like this, you get to see the other person thinking that I'm winning the war. That is why you want to have a dialogue with me. So that being said, what do you think is the most concrete and maybe not the best, but what you consider the approach that will work towards ending the crisis? Some people will talk about education. Some other people will talk about even distribution of wealth. Some other people will talk about you know, the other factor that gets to involve giving social amenities. So, Ciroma, what do you really think is the best approach that will work to ending the crisis?
You see, in Nigeria, politicians want to win election and remain offices at all costs. And that alone is another factor that needs to be tabled. You see, there is this insecurity in northwestern Nigeria. There is this cry of equity in resources and in controlling the revenue sharing by certain resource-rich groups, which have led to violent agitation among the contending actors between the states and all the general public. So in finding the solution or some ways of curtailing insurgency in Nigeria, these factors need to be addressed. From ethnic and religious differences, weak security systems, terrorism, unemployment, and to corruption. These are all issues that fuel crisis in the society, most especially in the north. You find that most of the youths are unemployed. They just feel they are used and dumped by the politicians. So one of the ways to tackle insecurity is to strengthen our weak security system, number one. Then the system can be attributed to a number of factors, which include corruption, inadequate funding of police and other security agencies, lack of modern equipment, poor welfare of security personnel, and inadequate personnel as a whole. So we are here to say, in any situation where a state is facing insecurity challenges, the government needs to sit down and address all these issues. There is lack of quality education in the north and unemployment. These are factors because we've seen a situation whereby the actors in the crime are all drug addicts, or rather they are seen to be under the influence, they work under the influence of the hard drugs they take. Most of them are unemployed. There is no education, no quality education, unemployment. All what we see in the insurgency are subject towards all this. So for the government to end the insecurity, all these factors need to be addressed adequately, and also the security agents, like Mr. Chakwa said, the security agents need to employ all machineries in getting fruitful information and intelligent security information so as to find lasting solution. You don't need to tell your opponent, you don't need to, when you are fighting guerrilla, you don't need to show your enemy what you are supposed to do. Some of the paparazzi they do in the media, in social media, they're all they are uncalled for. You need to actually get to the root of the matter, get funding from the government, and do the needful. These are some of the ways in curtailing insecurity in Northwestern Nigeria.
All right. In fact, we're said, and you've just mentioned some of the so many things, okay, that are very key in this. I didn't really think that we'll have to spend this long time. So as it is, we are almost on the 1 hour mark already, and understand that we scheduled this conversation for 30 minutes. Yes. So I know, Chakwa, you are on the move already. You are heading to.
Yes, I have already reached.
To a program.
I have already reached.
Okay, you are there already.
I have already reached. Yes, I was there already. I don't know if you can be able.
The state government want to distribute vehicles to security.
Yes, to security agency. Getting to 200 vehicles. If you can see the vehicle there. You can sight it.
Yes.
Yes, that's where I am.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if I can connect you. I don't know if I can connect you, if it's possible, with the what is called Commissioner for Internal Security, if he can say something to you.
No problem. We are on that, since we are even talking about insecurity. But one of the other things are we want us to really talk about why you can still be connected while we let you fix other program. We won't disconnect you.
Okay.
Yes, Chakwa, we won't disconnect you.
No, they
we'll let you remain connected.
Started. They have not yet started. They are about to start.
Okay. So when you are ready, you can connect back, right? When you're ready, you can connect back with us.
No, we can continue. We can continue. No problem.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, Al-Amin Ciroma, I was going to say to ask something. You've really talked about that, and some of the things you highlighted are very key. But then on the unemployment and education, we know that government cannot give everybody a job. the private sectors had to be involved, and creating jobs has to do with a whole lot of things. Last year, I farmed rice in Kebbi. I don't know if you know about this. Yeah. In fact, the rice farm is still there in Kebbi. Talking about Bishi and Kayuri local government. Do you know Kayuri? Yeah. So I still have the rice farm there. And when I was there, I got to understand that it's a big business. The people are happy. They just want to do their business and they will be happy with the income. But then when we look at the inclusion, we are not creating spaces for cattle rearers to run their cattle. We have inclusion into farmlands. We have the old thing called the climate change that is affecting this industry, affecting the industry, and we have lack of government policies. So do you really think that we can change all of this without having a drastic approach by government that we also include a strategic process of education? Because let me just stop there before I mention some of my so many experience, which also is the case in southern Nigeria. It is not as if southern Nigeria doesn't suffer these things. You know, talking about Lagos, where I am, talking about Calabar, Cross River State, you know, because I've traveled every state in Nigeria, including Borno. You know, so, but that is the case. Can we really achieve these things without having to have in place government officials, those who are willing, who understand the problem and are ready to work towards achieving these things?
You see, the problem of unemployment in Nigeria, most especially in the north, is a long-standing problem. For a young person from the age of 15 and 35, who most of them are graduates from university, have a great deal of difficulty in getting established. While people that didn't go to university, who should be getting vocational training, are not getting it at all. You made mention of some well-meaning Nigerians or wealthy placed persons who can engage some youth in getting jobs. It should have been a great idea, but then before now, people are being promised to get at least to graduate and get the job. But there are systems and problems behind the scourge. We call it an unemployment scourge, because for Nigeria, most people are not getting into formal employment. Given the scale of northern Nigeria, it is a challenge, not just for northern Nigeria, but for the country as a whole, just like you
for Nigeria,
mentioned. But it is also by extension for Africa and the world, most especially from the third world countries. But there are some systems. We look at Nigeria as an oil-producing country, but the oil over the last 30 years in the country has made people have been taking their eyes off industries. There is lack of diversification that we have as a people in Nigeria. But although the good news is that everyone recognizes it, and that they also recognize it as a crisis on the other part, because discussing youth employment needs in Nigeria means the government and the politicians need to actually launch some machineries where the youth can get something doing. The unemployment, if you go to, just like you visited Kebbi. Kebbi is a virgin land for agricultural discoveries. Just of recent, the government in Kebbi made it it's a kind of revolution in rice production. You find that some teeming youths are busy in making themselves busy, taking the advantage of the revolution to key into the revolutionary aspect of rice production. But then, if you want to farm in Nigeria today, the president has just announced that people should go back to farm. So, if I may ask, how do you have to go back to the farm in northern Nigeria when the whole atmosphere is infiltrated with insecurity? Kidnappers are taking their field, having their field day. The gunmen, the Boko Haram, so many different kind of insurgencies going around. So I'm here to say that aspect alone contribute more than 70% of what we're witnessing in the insecurity factor in not only in northern Nigeria but in Nigeria as a whole. Because if you travel down the middle belt, the south, you find that people are insecure. People are if you want to farm, you need so many backup from the security agents. You can't just go to your farm and start farming. So this aspect is key to all these crises we are facing in the country.
Okay, Al-Amin Ciroma, it has been a very interesting conversation, and just before I will bring it to a close now, I lastly want to say, what role, I'll put two questions in one. What role do you think election, the process of electing leaders, has got to play with the developmental process? And secondly, governments will always say there is no money, but there is always money, for example, to provide vehicles to security operative. Because if we see what I have on the screen now, 200 vehicles to security agencies, it's going to cost so much. But then the general question I ask myself, who are we going to fight? Who are those we want to kill? We want to kill our brothers, we want to kill our sisters. What would happen if we make this money available to our sisters and brothers to engage in businesses and all of the rest? So how much influence do you think the activities of government after election generally affect insecurity and even the process of election, the electioneering process? How much of these two do you think affect insecurity or contribute, I should say, to insecurity?
First of all, the electioneering process in Nigeria needs to be brought to the barest budget we have. Our election process in Nigeria is very, very expensive, and that is why a politician will see some kind of investment in politics. He can tell you, I paid so millions in just acquiring or just registering myself as a candidate. So, and he might also go a long way to tell you, I have earmarked so millions of naira to get me into power or to get me win this election. So the process needs to be checked, because all these monies being spent in the electioneering process in Nigeria is also a contributing factor in making the politicians or political power, political office holders to see it as an investment. So if we want to get it right, we need to bring down all this process to an extent whereby an ordinary person on the street can afford being coming into the system. That can also play a role in curbing out some of the problems. But unfortunately, in 4 years, almost 189 billion, according to statistics, were spent in conducting some presidential elections, which is very, very expensive. Let's learn from some first world countries what they do, and I'm here to say what we are witnessing about the unemployment is also a factor, a contributory factor to the insecurity we are witnessing in Nigeria.
Okay, Al-Amin Ciroma, I really want us to continue, but because of our time, I want to hope that we can do this again some other time to at least have other robust conversation, either about election, security, employment, and some other things that we really have to talk about, because one of the things we are trying to do, and number one key thing, eliminates ethnic and religion approach as solution to what we have as a problem in the country. So would really love to do this again with you some other time, so that we can generally use this platform to reach out to so many other Nigerians and have a consolidated approach on solving a general problem. So I hope you'll be available again, sir, if I reach out to you, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you very much, Al-Amin Ciroma, a very wonderful journalist. I've seen your profile, and I know that you've been doing this many, many years ago. And I want to say thank you very much for sustaining journalism.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, guys, at this point, this is where we want to draw the curtain on the program today. We want to say thank you very much we've been here for over 1 hour. Thank you very much. Definitely, we'll reconnect with Chakwa again to get to see the process of the distribution of the security vehicles in Zamfara. On behalf of myself, Twitwi, and everyone at CIN Nigeria, and on behalf of my guest, Al-Amin Ciroma, and of course, Abdulraman Chakwa, we say thank you very much for staying with us. Join us again tomorrow for another interesting program. Bye.